Executive Director of the People's Computer Company, PCC, Inc. Jan?
John, we hear a lot about functional illiteracy. Exactly what does that mean?
Functional illiteracy basically is a person's inability to deal with the reading and writing they need to function effectively in everyday life. There are very few true illiterates anymore. Most people can read and write their name. So the new tag that's been put on it is functional illiteracy.
Now, how does the computer help them?
The computer is a infinitely patient tool. And many adults, illiterates, who can't read well don't like to admit that they can't read. They don't like to go into a reading program and indicate to a person that they can't do the things they need to do in their lives. The tutor doesn't know. The computer doesn't know.
Gene, what does your company, the People's Computer Company, do in the area of illiteracy?
We were a consultant for a project that was a first time using computers in a volunteer tutoring project at the Richmond Public Library, which you have just taken a look at.
And what approach do you take to that?
We wanted to use the computer to teach writing and reading skills. We had a volunteer program with one-to-one tutoring in the past, and we wanted to see what happened when we used the tutor, the student, and a computer to help deliver that instruction.
And is the idea generally accepted that computers contribute something extra? Is there any resistance among the human tutors who think they can do this better without a computer?
There's more resistance from the tutor than from the students in the study that we found in our work in Richmond. But that was primarily because the tutor has lived and taught for maybe 50 to 60 years without a computer to learn.
Any particular student needs. How do you balance that?
Well, we recommended and implemented in the Richmond project that the tutor and the student stay together for a number of hours, that most of the instructional materials that we wrote required the tutor and the student to be together in the beginning. What surprised us in the study results was that the student moved to independent use on the computer faster and sooner than we anticipated in writing our materials, and we had to go back and acknowledge that.
Shane, it's kind of surprising. The stereotype is the adult is less likely to feel comfortable at the computer keyboard than the child is. True. And yet you're telling us the adult is, in fact, very comfortable in this environment. I'm
telling you that the learner is comfortable. You see, in the pair that you're talking about, one is the teacher and one is the student. The student is eager. And in the case of the illiterate adult, you're talking about an individual who has had not much success in their life in a lot of areas, and especially in learning. You're talking about someone who really believed that technology, or especially computers, would never be available to them. That's something that the rest of the world has, even young children in school. So when we brought these into an adult and said, you can use this, the empowerment and the excitement was just magnificent.
John, you're dealing with a special kind of adult, jail inmates. How does it work in that environment?
They're lined up too deep to use the computers. Really? They're very, very fascinated. The time on task, which is an educator's term to determine, the amount of time they spend in the educational materials, is incredible. They're totally focused on the computer when they're working on it. It's difficult to get them away from the machine. So they're very, very anxious to use the hardware.
Do you have any testing evidence to suggest the stuff really works, or is this sort of intuition at the moment?
I think I'll give that to Jane.
Okay. The study that we did was an ethnographic study that ran over a year, concrete interviews and statistics that were gathered over a 6 months period of time. It's probably the first in California and one of very few done in the United States. I would like a lot more done, but people don't fund the research. All we can get funded so far is maybe one computer. But our study is available through the California State Library and is worth taking a look at for other people to take and jump off and go do some more work.
Jane and John, I want to stop here just a second. I know you have a piece of software you want to show us. There's another very innovative use of computers in Pennsylvania right now, something called the Talking Computer Program, and it was developed at Penn State University.
This is Northwest Elementary School in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Most of the students here are kids, but lately some new students have been showing up. Grown-ups, coming here to learn how to keep up with their kids, coming to learn how to read.
Joan likes bread for lunch.
Debbie Swoyer is a mother of two. She's a high school graduate, but she can't read as well as her 9-year-old daughter Tanya, who's in the 4th grade. That makes it tough for Mom to help with the homework.
Well, the homework, like the oldest one, she's got spelling words I can't even do. she's got to, you know, help me, Sam, or with her homework and that. But it's the words that I have trouble with, and this is helping me.
Debbie is working on a computer-based literacy training course. It uses a voice synthesizer so that the computer can communicate with the student, even though the student can't read. The program is written in a language called SuperPilot. It uses an Apple IIe and an Echo voice synthesizer. One problem with computer-based literacy courses is that they require expensive computers. But the woman in charge of the Penn State program says that need not be a problem.
We hope more businesses and industries that are opening up the use of their computer facilities after hours to adult literacy programs. We need to see a lot more of this after-hours usage on the part of business and industry, because computers sit idle from 5 until 9 the next morning. It would be ideal for teaching someone how to read.
The Penn State software is unique in teaching reading by showing the students word configurations based on research which shows that adult learners recognize the shape of words more than their phonetic sounds. But the computer does more than just help teach reading. It helps restore the student's sense of self-esteem.
The sensitivity of the subject of an adult not being able to read, I think that it is minimized, then they feel belittled, and I think the computer helps that self-esteem, and they're saying, well, look, I can handle this computer. It's technology that's advanced, and it improves in their eyes their perception that, well, they're a great person, they can run a computer, and that in itself helps.
When Debbie and her tutor Dolores first started using the computer courseware, they were both scared, both afraid that they couldn't do it. But now they both love it. And Dolores says she's a computer convert.
I think the computer is a great thing. And it's coming to the age where it's going to be a computer age, right? So I just adjust with it and I go with the times.
Next up, a program called LEAP for the Apple II. It's being used to teach literacy to prison inmates in Los Angeles.
We're back in the studio again with John Fleischman and Jane Nissen-Ladley. Jan.
John, you have a new piece of software here that you're going to show us. Tell me a little bit about it.
This particular program is produced by Educational Activities Incorporated. It's brand new on the market, 1987. It's called the Language Experience Program 1, LEAP 1. What it does is it uses a person's existing skills, the ability, their own knowledge about their family, their friends, and then channels that into a reading lesson. It's kind of like the next generation of word processors used for a reading instruction program. Now, what we have here, we've already gone past the opening logo. We're into the program. It's a very personalized and very interactive program. So what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and select an area that you would like to write about. You have a choice, relatives, jobs, and memory. So,
Okay, so I'm going to be the functionally illiterate
you're going to be the
student.
student, and I'm going to be the teacher.
Okay, so I want to see job, let's say.
Now, most of the activities would actually happen by the student. There are points where you would sit down with the teacher to correct grammar and review the material.
So Jan might be doing this herself at the terminal. Okay, well, go ahead, Jan.
Okay, so let's say job.
You've indicated job.
Okay. They'd like to know more about the job. Press any key to continue. Just like that, right?
Just like that.
Okay. Tell me about your job. Okay, so now it's going to
Any key?
have me put some things in here.
It's giving you some instructions now, some basic instruction. Initially, of course, I would sit with you to explain this process. So
Yeah,
this
John,
tells
is there a problem? There's some sophisticated reading capability necessary to get through this. Is that a problem?
That would be a real big problem for someone reading on a 1.5 grade level. So they would have to work with the teacher initially or work with another student who's reading at a higher level. So this is basically the instructions now.
Okay, Jan, well,
go ahead
let's
and
continue
advance
this.
it
Okay,
on.
let's continue. Okay, so it wants me to write 3 sentences. So let's say, I like my job, and I work in a, factory.
Okay, now even if that spelling's incorrect.
Okay, and then I can do that pound sign.
Okay, and return.
Okay.
Okay, now here's a good example. You didn't follow the instructions. You must write at least 3 sentences. Please add to what you have written. So if you press any key to continue, it will take you back to that original. what you were writing, and now you will add in your third
I
sentence.
see, okay.
Now, of course, you can write more than 3 sentences. The idea here is your own words, it's your own story. It has much more meaning for the adult learner. The next thing that would happen is you would take your story up to the teacher, and the teacher would put another
Okay, well,
disc.
let's see what she's finishing. Okay, you've typed your third sentence now.
Okay, so that's...
And what do you have to enter the pound sign now to see if it'll accept it this time? Why don't we
Okay,
try that.
so under the pound sign,
and
then
return.
return.
That's right.
Let's see if it takes it.
Okay,
Looks like it
that's
takes it.
anything
So I
from
like
the
Okay,
start.
it's
I'll just say
yes.
yes.
Well, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, now what happens then, John?
Okay, now what you would do is then take this story up to the teacher or to the tutor. You would sit down with that teacher, and together you would review the story. Now here you spelled factory incorrect. So you would actually retype the story again, spelling it correctly with the grammar correctly. And then it would record on your own personalized diskette all of your stories. There's a total of about 25 hours of instruction as you go through the program, records all your personalized stories, and then there are many, many follow-up activities, pulling out specialized vocabulary words, doing activity sheets, all related to your own vocabulary. That's why it's a very powerful program for adults.
Jane, how is this different from having John as an instructor say to me in my little copybook, write 3 sentences about your life, and I hand him the piece of paper? What's added here?
What's very different is that for an adult who has difficulty reading, for the most case, they have difficulty writing. And you're talking about 2 separate skills. One is a handwriting skill that has to do with lots of practice and small and large motors going at the same time. In the case of using word processor, and we used it in Richmond for this very reason, is that the very first time the student is on that computer, they can push a button and take printed copy and take it home and own it. I have a completed story that other people can read, and it's very important to be able to write first and then have someone else read it, and they can also read it themselves back in practice. The handwriting does not get in the way.
Does this add to the cost of educating the student? In other words, what is the cost-benefit trade-off here?
We certainly didn't do a lot of cost factor in terms of actual cost of software against hours, man-hours. I would suspect that in a volunteer program, it's extremely cost-effective, and would say so because of the amount of use by the students on their own. Once you get over the cost of training the volunteers, they have another instructor and more hours of instruction. We had them using the lab more hours because they could do it on their own than they would have before we had the computers.
Jane, John, thank you very much. We're going to take a look at another innovative example. Now, this is a system, an expensive one, developed by IBM and being used very successfully now in Michigan to retrain auto workers. Let's go there for that story.
Flint, Michigan is one of the capitals of the auto industry, and it reflects many of the difficulties faced by auto manufacturers. For many laid-off workers, the plant closures mean job retraining, and for some, that includes such basics as learning how to read.
Flint is in transition in terms of industry. We're going from an industry that required heavy manual labor with less academic and competency skills as far as academics, to a very high-tech industrial community. And as you look at the history of people who came out of public schools, some graduating, some not graduating, and going into industry, they could obtain very good jobs, high-paying jobs with minimal skills. Today, that is not the case.
Flint is also the test center for a revolutionary approach to teaching literacy with computers for beginning readers and for those who never learned. The program is called PALS, or Principles of Alphabet Literacy System. PALS grew out of a program aimed at teaching reading and writing skills to kindergarten-age children. It was developed by Dr. John Martin and has been licensed by IBM.
With the single most difficult thing there is to learn in the English-speaking world, learning to read. We have the highest rate of failure in that level of learning than anything else that occurs between age 5 and 25.
The PALS adult classroom has Laserdisc players, touch-sensitive computer screens, typewriters, and PCs. From the moment students arrive, they are immersed in computer technology. The textbook is on a Laserdisc in the form of a story related in comic book style. Students learn touch typing simultaneously, and they can proceed at their own pace, something Dr. Martin believes is very important.
Coming to the computer without the intervention of an adult means that, in effect, they are teaching themselves through the vehicle of the computer. This seeming dehumanization, which some people decry as a technological intrusion, as a matter of fact, is very therapeutic. Because, you see, the damage to them has been done by people.
After 20 weeks in the PALS program, about 80% of the students have improved their reading skills by an average of 2.5 years of schooling. The self-paced rate of instruction seems to be an important part of that success.
It was breaking the words down. You were using the alphabets more often, learning the sounds, because you have a lot of sounds are alike. During the time that I was in school, your teacher would just flop it on you, and you either learn it or you didn't. But here, I worked at my own pace.
When I took this class, I learned how to read things that I've never even read before. And as of today, I can fill out an application. I can go to any place and fill out an application.
From a teacher's point of view, the central role of the PC might appear to be a threat, but instructors play a pivotal role.
It gave me more time then to circulate and talk to individuals about individual problems. It did all the legwork for me. Rather than having to stand and lecture in front of the class, the computer did a lot of that tutorial work for me. And I could concentrate on special cases and problems and individualize the lesson.
PALS was adapted from Dr. Martin's reading program for children called Writing to Read, which shares the same underlying concepts as PALS. To watch 5-year-olds using Writing to Read is to raise one's perception of what a young mind can learn.
We're invited to learn in abysmally poor ways. But in Writing to Read and in PALS, I bring to the fore the intellectual structure of what a word is. Make it apparent to a student that a physical representation of a word is a symbol system called the alphabet that represents the sounds you make when you speak that word.
Say book. Dr. Martin notes that it's too early to tell if computer instruction indicates the need for a radical restructuring of teaching methods, but he does anticipate some major changes.
I know this much, having lived my life in the world of the schools, that the concept that a school consisted of a series of boxes in which you put 25 to 30 children and one teacher all day, or move them around, called it a secondary school, and they went to specialized classes for language and science and so on. I think technology is going to blow those walls apart.
That's our look at computers and illiteracy. If you would like information about contacting a literacy training center in your community, call Contact Literacy. The number is 800-228-8813. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned now for this week's Computer News. In the Random Access file this week, PC Expo, New York's biggest computer show, is history. More than 50,000 people showed up, along with some 200 speakers and 500 vendors. The main theme was connectivity. The keynote speaker was Microsoft's Bill Gates. Several new goodies on display or talked about at the PC Expo. Among them, a new board from Microsoft called the Mach 20, which turns your 8088 PC into a souped-up 286 machine. The board increases speed by up to a factor of 6. It runs at 8 megahertz and can support 3.5 megabytes of expanded memory. Applied Engineering is showing off an add-on board that will turn your Apple II into an IBM PC. The company says the PC Transporter enables an Apple II to run 98% of IBM software at speeds 4 times greater than an XT. Transimage Corporation unveiled a handheld optical scanner that can read virtually any font. Rather than match fonts, it treats each font as a unique shape. It's called the Transimage 1000, and it'll sell for under $3,000, much cheaper than any other OmniFont reader. HP has introduced a portable version of its Vectra PC. It's battery-operated, but in the luggable category at 17 pounds. There's a dual floppy version and a 20-megabyte hard disk version. Time for a software review with Paul Schindler.
This doesn't really work very well if you want to get two people to talk to each other. They should just call directly. Well, the same thing was true for two people working on PCs in distant locations until InSync came along. Now, the idea behind this package is simple. I sit at my computer screen, you sit at yours. I load my word processor, for example, then use this memory-resident program to dial you. You've also loaded the same word processor. I send you a file, you load it on your screen, and when I move my cursor, the cursor on your screen moves the same way. It's like two people in distant cities working on the same sheet of paper or the same computer screen. Anything I can make appear on my screen, I can send down the phone line to your screen. Now, we used a word processor as our example, but you could just as easily have two people working on a spreadsheet. What a concept! Best of all, InSync is not copy protected, which makes it easy to load on a hard disk and easy to use. InSync, $500, American Video in Farmingdale, New York. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Paul Schindler.
Apple is disciplining several of its employees after it discovered they were buying LaserWriter printers at the employee discount of 60% and then selling them at a profit to dealers. There are Book of the Month clubs and record clubs. Now the Minnesota Educational Computer Corporation has started the Home Software Club. For a $75 membership fee, you get 4 programs and then 10% off their Software of the Month selection. Finally, if your hard disk is a mess, there may be a reward. Access Softtech, makers of Dragnet, a file management program, is offering prizes to the 100 most disorganized disks it can find among PC users. Send a printout of your hard disk contents to Access Softtech in Berkeley, California. That's it for this week's Chronicles. We'll see you next time.
The Computer Chronicles is made possible by Leading Edge, makers of IBM-compatible computer systems, including word processing with spelling correction, communication software, and Hayes-compatible 1200 and 2400 baud modems. Leading Edge, with over 1,000 service centers nationwide. Leading Edge, leading the way to the information.